Hi, everyone. My name is Lori Peak, and I am the Principal Investigator for the National Science Foundation-supported CONVERGE facility, which is headquartered here at the Natural Hazard Center at the University of Colorado Boulder. CONVERGE is dedicated to advancing ethical, coordinated, and scientifically rigorous hazards and disaster research through providing training resources and connecting researchers across disciplines. On behalf of the entire team, it is our pleasure to welcome you to the CONVERGE webinar series. Today, during this brief 30-minute demonstration webinar, we are going to share the latest CONVERGE training module, which focuses on the topic of Institutional Review Board, or IRB, procedures for extreme events research. We are so grateful that you have joined with us today, and we thank you for the work that you do. A few logistical items before proceeding. This webinar is being recorded. The captioned recording and slides will be posted on the CONVERGE website at converge.colorado.edu/communications. Should you have any questions or comments during the webinar, please use the Q&A box or the chat box. If we are unable to respond during this brief webinar, we will post written responses on the CONVERGE webinar webpage for this session. One of the major tasks of the CONVERGE project is to accelerate the education and training of a diverse next generation of hazards and disaster researchers and practitioners. We recognize that disaster research is often highly event-driven. In order for the field to progress, it is crucial that those new to this area of study have access to already existing research and an understanding of various methodological approaches and potential ethical challenges that emerge in the context of hazards and disaster research. To that end, our CONVERGE research team has created a series of free online training modules that are specifically designed for students, emerging researchers and practitioners, and others new to the field who hope to quickly gain key background information on the module topic. Thus far, we have released 4 modules, one on social vulnerability in disasters, another on disaster mental health, a third on cultural competence in hazards and disaster research, and the IRB procedures and extreme events research module, which you will be hearing more about today. We are also gearing up to soon release additional modules. The next one in the series will focus on the topic of conducting emotionally challenging research. We are also beginning work on modules related to a range of other topics, including, for example, reciprocity in research, understanding and ending gender-based violence in fieldwork, and best practices for publishing and ethically sharing data and findings. Over the coming years, we will continue to offer individual certificates for each of these modules while also building toward a credentialing system for hazards and disaster researchers to help ensure a minimum competence in the field and to democratize access to information through providing these free resources. These training modules can be used as a classroom assignment or other competency requirement to ensure that researchers have a baseline level of knowledge and skills as they move forward with their effort. To that end, I am so excited to remind you all today that we now have a CONVERGE training modules assignment bank available on our website. Thus far, we have 5 model assignments that have been posted, including one from Hans Louis Charles at Virginia Commonwealth University, who I know signed up for the webinar today. Hi, Hans. The currently available assignments in the bank have been used in both undergraduate and graduate courses in a variety of disciplines. And we're already learning that professors and instructors are downloading these assignments and sharing them with one another. So we'd like to encourage that further. Today, we have another special webinar guest who has contributed to the assignment bank. Olivia Vila is pursuing her doctoral degree in Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Management at North Carolina State University. Olivia agreed to join us today to share more about how she integrated the CONVERGE training modules into the classroom. Olivia, over to you.
Okay, can you all hear me, Lori?
Yes, you sound wonderful, Olivia.
Great, thank you so much, Lori, and hi, everyone. So as Lori said, I've completed the available CONVERGE training modules, and I actually used one to help me and a classroom of undergraduate students in a class on humans and the environment prepare for a guest lecture that I delivered at North Carolina State University. Specifically, I covered a class session that was focused on risk and hazards. So in advance of the session, I asked all of the students to complete the Social Vulnerability and Disasters training module. They had to finish the quiz and acquire the certificate of completion to verify that the assignment was done. After they finished the module, I asked all of the students to write a reflection on what they learned about vulnerable populations as part of the CONVERGE training. I asked them to think carefully about what the content and population groups were covered in the module, as well as about additional factors that may render people vulnerable, but were not discussed. Once students finished their write-up, I had them post it online on a portal so that they could read and respond to their classmates before class. It was really great, and by the time the day came for my guest lecture, the students were already prepared with the foundational content that they needed. So that allowed us then to engage in a group activity where the students devised their own strategies to help address the needs of vulnerable populations. The students were very positive about the module, and I think they really appreciated that it was something different than just a regular reading, but that it still covered much scholarly content. In addition, it allowed me to get away from lecturing at them and instead to actually engage them in advancing potential policy options for addressing the root causes of vulnerability. Lastly, I want to say that as a graduate student, these modules are also a really effective tool for helping someone like me who doesn't have a whole lot of teaching experience brainstorm activities and discussions for classroom settings. So that's all I have. Thank you so much, Lori, for the invitation to guest star today. I'm going to turn it back over to you now, but first, I wanted to give a shout out to the Has Nerds at North Carolina State University. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia, so much for joining us, and hi to the Has Nerds at North Carolina State University. We love that you always join us for these webinars. And I want to tell our participants out there that I've actually known Olivia since she was an undergraduate honors student when I had the gift of serving on her committee when she was a student at Colorado State University. And she was excellent then, and she has continued to shine as she has advanced with her education and practice. So Olivia, on behalf of our team, it was a real honor to have you with us here today. And thank you also for helping to spearhead our CONVERGE Education and Training Advisory Committee. We look forward to many years of collaboration with you. And to all of our listeners out there, if you, like Olivia, have used the training modules in your class and you have an assignment to share, please know that we would welcome your contribution as well. You can reach out to us at converge@colorado.edu for more information on getting involved. Now, without further ado, I am going to turn this over to our presenters today. You will hear from Haorui Wu, who is a faculty member in the School of Social Work at Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia, Canada. Haorui is also a former postdoctoral scholar here at the Natural Hazard Center and with the CONVERGE Initiative, and a Forever Family member. He served as the lead developer for the IRB training module. Melissa Villarreal, who is a Bill Anderson Fund Fellow, doctoral student in sociology here at the University of Colorado Boulder, and a graduate research assistant at the Natural Hazard Center and for CONVERGE. She also served as a primary developer for this module. Haorui and Melissa have worked for months with Rachel Adams and Candace Evans in developing this module, as well as with many other members of this team here who helped us to create, test, and share the IRB module with all of you. We're going to turn this over to Melissa now, who's going to start with some specifics on the module, and then how Ray will be giving us the interactive demonstration. Melissa, over to you.
Hi everyone, Lori, thank you so much for the introduction. As Lori mentioned, my name is Melissa Villarreal, and over the past year, I have been working on reviewing the literature and developing the narrative that appears in this module. Today, I'm going to start by providing an overview of the IRB procedures and extreme events research training module. Before I begin, though, I want to acknowledge that this is a lot of text you're seeing here on the screen, so I first want to take a moment to orient you. What you can see right now is that the IRB training module is organized into 4 lessons: background, IRB review and approval, IRB and extreme events research, and future directions. Within each of these lessons are different topics, which present interactive information that aims to achieve a specific set of learning objectives. By the end of the module, all participants should be able to, 1, recognize the historical underpinnings that led to the development of the IRB in the United States. 2, understand how the IRB is designed to safeguard participants and to ensure ethical research practices. 3, know the steps required to apply for and receive IRB approval before conducting a research study. 4, recognize strategies for submitting a successful IRB application. 5, realize how the IRB process can strengthen ethical procedures for extreme events research. 6, understand potential challenges of working with the IRB in the context of extreme events research, and also how to navigate those challenges. And 7, identify ways to improve the IRB process for extreme events research moving forward. On the right-hand side of the page, there is a tracking bar where you can track your progress as you move through the module lessons and topics. Once you have completed a topic, you can always go back and review at a later time. In the first section of the module, which you are seeing here, we begin by providing an overview of the IRB, its history, and its purpose. As many of you may know, the Institutional Review Board, or IRB, is a type of committee that is responsible for reviewing the methods of proposed research involving human subjects to ensure that they are ethical. Federal regulations and international guidelines designate this type of research as involving, quote, human subjects to help distinguish the person being studied from the investigator. The IRB is intended to ensure the protection of human subjects and their rights as participants in potentially harmful research. Consequently, the IRB assumes the responsibility of reviewing all research involving human subjects and approving, disapproving, or requesting modifications to the research design in order to best protect those human participants. As Ray will discuss later, the IRB is also instrumental for navigating the ethical challenges present in hazards and disaster research in particular. In addition to real-world examples and research-based case studies throughout the module, we also utilize a variety of tables, sliders, and graphics to supplement information to ensure that users learn about the IRB, as well as about how hazards and disaster researchers can work most effectively with the IRB. For instance, in the second lesson in the module, we describe the steps required to develop an IRB application, to submit an application for approval, to then maintain that approval, and finally to close a study. At the close of that lesson, we offer tips for submitting an IRB application. Similarly, in the Future Directions lesson, we provide a slideshow that presents a list of recommendations for improving the function of the IRB for extreme events research. These recommendations have mostly been drawn from the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, NIEHS, best practices for working group for special IRB considerations in the review of disaster-related research, as well as other relevant cited literature. Although they are numbered, the 10 recommendations are not ordered by priority, as they are all important for improving the IRB process. In addition to the module's written and interactive visual content, we have compiled a list of additional resources relevant to the IRB and extreme events research. Within the Resources tab at the top right-hand corner of the screen, we provide links to additional readings, tools, and other web resources that you can access. These resources can help you learn more about IRB and support research activities that focus on the IRB in the hazards and disasters context. Please note that you must be logged into the module to access these free resources. At the end of the module, you can take a 10-question quiz to assess what you have learned. All in all, the module takes about 30 to 60 minutes to complete. If you are an instructor considering these for classroom use, please know that the quiz that we have at the end is on a quiz bank and it's on a random generator. That means if you assign this to your students, they will not all get the same questions. If you get at least 8 out of 10 questions correct, you will receive a certificate of completion with your name and the date. You can save the certificate as a PDF, and you can also access it at a later date via your training module login information. As Lori mentioned previously, these certificates are intended to become part of a larger credentialing system to train the next generation of hazards and disaster researchers. I am now going to turn this over to Jorge. Jorge is going to share his screen and conduct a demonstration of the CONVERGE IRB training module. While Jorge is getting his screen ready, let me remind everyone that you can register for the module at converge.colorado.edu/training-modules. Okay, Jorge, over to you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, you sound great, Jorge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So thank you so much for the introduction. As Melissa said, I'm going to walk you through a demonstration of the IRB training module. This module covers a number of important topics related to the IRB. One lesson provides an overview of the history and functions of the IRB. Another focuses on the process of securing IRB approval of one study. The next discusses the importance and roles of the IRB in extreme event research. And the final lessons provides recommendations for how the IRB can better serve extreme events research. For the sake of time, I'm just going to guide you through the IRB and extreme event research lesson. This lesson described ethical challenges in extreme event research and how the IRB process strengthens the ethical perspective of hazards and disaster researchers. The first topic of this lesson is ethical challenges in extreme event research. Here, the module explains how research on hazard and disasters is often broadly concerned with understanding the needs and experience of disaster survivors and organizational leaders in order to enhance the level of preparedness, readiness to response, and ability to recover. There is thus often a desire to collect perishable data through quick response and rapid reconnaissance studies. For these reasons, it is imperative for hazards and disaster researchers to understand how to minimize the potential risk of their research to prevent furthering the suffering of disaster survivors. For example, in the study of Hurricane Katrina, Flory and colleagues took extra care to discuss participation in their study during the informed consent process. Especially, they were very purposeful in describing why they were collecting severe samples to address potential concern about ulterior motives due to the history of unethical research practices within African American community, such as the Tuskegee Civitas study, by considering important power imbalances and cultural beliefs among study participants and researchers engaged in ethical informed consent practices. While the IRB does not outline specific regulations for hazard and disaster researchers, there are certain considerations that the IRB process will require researchers to think through while preparing and submitting materials to the IRB. The potential ethical challenges are highlighted in these examples here and include things such as how do researchers interact with potential traumatized disaster survivors and other populations that may have had their lives disrupted by disaster, and how the researchers ethically conduct research activities in disaster-affected communities that may have badly damaged infrastructure or may be experiencing widespread disruption. So let's go to the next topic. In the challenge to the working with IRB for hazard and disaster researchers topic, the module explains how, given the bureaucratic nature of IRB process, there are a variety of challenges that can arise when working with the IRB in the context of extreme events research. For example, time consideration are often especially pertinent in post-disaster research context, as a potential delayed the IRB review process, and associated administrative tasks can delay entry into the field and impact the quality of the data collected. Additionally, most countries do not provide specific ethical guidelines for researchers, and IRB standards can vary substantially across organizations. This lack of consistency and coordination can result in redundancy, confusion, and added participant burden, which has led to serious consequences for hazard and disaster researchers. For example, Indonesia experienced an influx of international researchers following the deadly 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami. This led the government to implement a special visa requirement for foreigner scientists before they were allowed to enter the field. International researchers must now identify the Indonesian partners and submitted a data collection protocols to the government in advance of starting their study. And the violation of these terms can lead to criminal charges and fines or even imprisonment. Accordingly, when another earthquake and tsunami hit Indonesia islands of Sulawesi in September 2018, some foreigner researchers were stopped at the border and they were unable to enter the country. This and many other cases speaks to the complexity of conducting disaster zone research. At the end of each lesson, there are brief knowledge check, which is a two-question quiz to make sure that user is engaged and paying attention. The knowledge check does not count towards the final quiz. For those joining via screen, you can see two multi-choice questions. The first question asks you to complete the sentence. Many of the IRB challenges that hazard and disaster researchers encountered arise out of blanket nature of the IRB process itself. There are 4 response options: bureaucratic, disorganized, informal, and inaccessibility. I'm going to press bureaucratic so that the sentence reads, many of the IRB challenges that hazard and disaster researchers encounter arise out of the bureaucratic nature of the IRB process itself. So the second question says, the IRB began as a committee meant to help regulate blanket study. The response options are natural science, mathematical, medicine, and engineering. I'm going to press medical so that the sentence reads, the IRB began as a committee meant to help regulate medical studies. To submit my response, I press Finish Assessment. I now have the option to view questions and check whether I got the questions correct. As you can see, both of my answers are correct. I want to point out one more thing during this demonstration. As Melissa discussed earlier, the module has a resources tab where additional resources are listed and can be used to support hazard and disaster research as they worked with IRB to ensure ethical extreme events research. So these resources, including trainings, disaster research protocols, videos, standardized instrument, and other resources related to the IRB and extreme event research. Each of these resources is also hyperlinked. For example, if I press the MacArthur Competency Assessment 2 for the clinic research link, it will bring me to this resources website so that I can access it. So that concludes our demonstration today. Now we are going to return to the webinar slides. Oh, sorry. Thank you so much. We hope that this webinar has been helpful to you today. We also want to remind you that the next module we will be releasing is focused on the topic of conducting emotional challenge research. Following that, we are partnering with Jerica Hans and the Field Initiative to Stop Sexualized Traumas, or FISS, to release another module focused on the topic of understanding and ending gender-based violence in field work. We will be hosting briefly demonstration webinars like this one for each of these modules and the others that are part of this series as they become available. A few reminders before I turn this back over to Laurie to close out this session. To contact us about any questions or suggestions you may have, please email us at converge@colorado.edu. To register for and access the Converge training modules, please visit converge.colorado.edu/training-modules. This webinar has been recorded and will be posted on the Converge website, converge@colorado.edu/communication. Okay, Laurie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Hao-Rui, for the demonstration, and thank you, Melissa, for the overview of the module. On behalf of our entire training modules team, we wanted to give our viewers a quick update on the other modules. As of today, 1,354 people have registered for these modules, with 326 completing the Social Vulnerability and Disasters module, 254 have completed the Disaster Mental Health module, 120 have completed Cultural Competence, and 10 have completed the new IRB Procedures module already. We hope that we will soon be adding your name to that list. These modules would not have come to life without the support of the National Science Foundation. We also want to offer a special thanks to Doug Greifel at the CU Boulder IRB, who already reviewed this for us and provided feedback. And we want to thank everyone here at the Natural Hazard Center and at our CONVERGE facility who contributed to this module in some way. Thank you also for all of you for joining us today. We are so grateful, and we hope you will remember to sign up for updates at converge.colorado.edu/sign-up. And with that, we are out of time for today, but know you can contact us at converge@colorado.edu anytime. Thanks to Olivia, our guest star, and again, thanks to all of you for joining us today. Please take care of yourself and others.